Okay, so you guys know I really like consuming media, and though my media of choice is cartoons, I do enjoy a good webcomic every now and then. In fact, there were several years of my life where my primary fandom was for a webcomic. But anyways, nowadays we have a little app called Webtoon at our disposal, providing an extensive collection of webcomics all in one place. There are so many comics on there, and a lot of them are, but there are a few that scratch my brain so good and I'm kind of obsessed with. So I just wanted to draw some fan art and talk about them with you. There will be spoilers, but for the webtoon I'm talking about today, 𝗦𝗦𝗕𝗟𝗘, it's still pretty early in the story and I really want to talk about theories, so I definitely recommend going and reading it for yourself and getting as hooked as I did. Sometimes I go through webtoon and search for new things to read. I don't actually have that many stories I'm keeping up with at the moment, and the wait for new episodes of those stories can be excruciating when you don't have other ones to read in between. This is one that I found in one of those quests for a new comic, and I actually only read a chapter or two before I decided to keep looking. Then a few months later, I decided to give it another go after not finding anything new that held my interest in all of that time. And taking another look at it, something clicked. I just could not stop reading, and by the time I realized I had caught up, it also hit me that the story was on an indefinite hiatus. But not anymore, baby! And boy, do I count down the days until a new episode. Okay, so there's this girl named 𝗏𝗏𝗏. She's 19, a bit of a little shit, and she's got a curse. Curses are a very taboo subject in this world, so she wears a sling to cover up the blackened markings on her arm caused by it, since they're such a clear indicator of its presence. Be prepared for me to say the word curse like 5,000 times in this video. So, curses in this world seem to be a specific thing, with rules to how they function. However, we don't actually understand a lot about them, and neither does 𝗏𝗏𝗏. We know they turn the afflicted body part black, and that they can be cured, but there's no set way to do so. It has to be tailored to each individual curse, and thus each individual cursed person. And it seems that often the cure has something to do with the reason they were cursed in the first place. Even though we really don't know any of this curse lore for a good minute, waiting for the information doesn't get frustrating for me like it usually would, because of the way that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is constantly searching for it and asking questions and investigating. It feels like she cares, and she wants answers, which is validating to me because I care and I want answers. It seems she's been looking into it for a while too. When the story begins, she's heading off to an appointment with a woman in town who seems to be somewhat witchy, perhaps? This woman, Madame Cerise, is a world-famous healer and has been trying to help 𝗏𝗏𝗏 come up with a cure for her curse. However, today she has a different announcement for 𝗏𝗏𝗏. She tells her she only has 6 months to live. See, her curse is progressing. It started at the tips of her fingers when she was only a little kid, and now it has expanded all the way up to her shoulder. And as the curse envelops more of her arm, the affected area becomes paralyzed. This means that if the curse reaches her heart, she's done. And all of that is in the first episode. Of course, this news greatly affects 𝗏𝗏𝗏, but she barely has any time to process it before her parents whisk her away, traveling for 2 weeks to a mysterious manor where they will stay on vacation for 6 months. And I want to pause for a second here because, guys, I am a theory fiend. Sometimes I watch theory videos about shows I've never even seen just because I enjoy listening to people put pieces together, and 𝗦𝗦𝗕𝗟𝗏 really satisfies that part of my brain. I have so many theories about this webtoon swirling around in my head that connect together and change with every update, and it's delightful. And I want to talk about them. So once again, if you haven't read this webtoon, go read it so that we can discuss more in the comments. Something I actually forgot about until rereading for this video is that when 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is whisked away on this trip, her father is incredibly nervous and sweating like crazy. He has to be hiding something. He says that the decision to go on this trip was made after a long discussion about the family. So in one night, they made all of the arrangements for this trip to a house that's all the way over in the next kingdom. Apparently their father said that he heard about it from someone in a gentleman's club he goes to. And as a wealthy man, this could of course just be a place he goes to golf or yacht, or it could refer to something more mysterious and possibly more insidious. I read the comments on every episode of this webtoon, and I've seen a lot of people speculating that he's running from someone, but there's a lot of ways that could go, so I'll come back to it in a bit. When the family finally arrives at the house, we meet some of the staff. There's the estate's butler, Mr. Sprout, who's in charge of the place, and I think a lot of people expected to be a villain of some kind at first. I did too. He just has that classic look to him. I don't know. But currently I'm leaning towards him being cool. He clearly disapproves of how Taryn's parents treat her, and even seems ready to physically defend her from her mother before Marin steps in. Oh, Marin is her older sister, by the way, and I guess best friend. She seems like the only person who ever really sticks up for Taryn, and it's clear that she loves her so much, more than anything probably. Everyone considers Marin perfect and looks down on Taryn, but to Marin, Taryn is perfect. As a reader, their relationship is such a breath of fresh air, considering how everyone else treats Taryn, including her parents. Like, back to Mr. Sprout, at one point he does intervene when Mr. Vogel is threatening Taryn, seemingly desperate to stay at the house and worried she'll get them kicked out for some reason. And I mean desperate. Look at that face, oh my god. We also meet the head chef, Mrs. Abalone, head housekeeper, Mistress Bellows, and the in-house physician, Dr. Beak, and the young bellhop, Beau Bloom. I love Beau, look at him, he's adorable. And he ends up making friends with Taryn before she even makes it inside the house. And that's a big deal for her. He's the first person other than her sister to be her friend since she got her curse. And this friendship is also really important to the story. Beau gets Taryn a temporary position working at Sable House, shadowing him for a week. Beau is the bellboy, yes, but it's usually quite a bit of time between arrivals and departures, as the typical guest is booked for an extended stay. So in the meantime, Beau is responsible for a variety of different tasks around the property, as he is also in training to be Mr. Sprout's successor one day. This was actually arranged by the mysterious owner of the house himself, Mr. Sable, after he discovered Beau running an organization of homeless kids, as he says. Turns out he's kind of a little genius. He's very observant, and he clearly gets people, as he's able to put together the fact that Taryn is cursed by the way she acts about her arm, despite her intentions of keeping it a secret, obviously. I think Taryn's time working at the house was a brilliant way of introducing us to more of the staff and familiarizing us with the house itself, which turns out is, in fact, magic. Actually, can we talk for a second about the house, and more specifically the way the author, Little Melon, draws it so beautifully? This place really is gorgeous, and it feels tangible. Despite being huge and intricate, the setting always feels like it makes sense in a 3D space, and I think that helps a lot with getting immersed in this world. Honestly, all of the art in this comic is beautiful. Like, look at this food. Prop design is, in my opinion, an underrated skill, and Little Melon is really good at it. I'm also obsessed with the way she draws hands. They're stylized but still feel fleshy and natural in their poses in a way that's pretty hard to achieve. And it's something I personally strive for, so I've definitely been studying her technique. Okay, so during their first day at Sable House, Marin and Taryn couldn't help but break away from their grand tour and peek into the hidden corridors the staff used to move about the property. While in this restricted area, they encounter another guest. His name is Isaac Prosper, and he's stumbling towards them drunk off his ass. It's not a great first impression, but it's also the first glimpse we get at this place's magic. When Taryn tries to leave Isaac and catch up to her sister, she discovers the door they came through doesn't lead back to that original hall, and every time she opens it, she sees a new location on the other side. So she's stuck there with this guy, and that kind of sums up how their friendship begins. Isaac is the sole heir to a famously incredibly rich estate. Mrs. Vogel has even heard about them. It seems his family has been staying at Sable House for quite a while, and in that time, his drinking problem has gotten worse. People in this house gossip a lot, and Isaac is a common topic of discussion. Under his extravagant behavior and seemingly cheerful nature, this guy seems to harbor a very troubled backstory. However, according to him, so does every guest in this house. It's why people end up there in the first place. they're hiding from something. The arrival of the Vogel family has an impact on Isaac. He so badly wants to befriend Taryn, and when she's unreceptive, he goes to her sister for help. Marin has him vow to quit drinking and gives him advice on how to talk to Taryn. She also cuts his hair, which had everyone devastated in the comments of that episode, me included. I love when guys are designed with long hair, but it's a good representation of his desire to move forward from his past and change himself. Taryn eventually accepts Isaac's friendship. After he admits to her he's known about her curse this whole time. It's actually part of the reason he so strongly desired a connection with her. Isaac lost a close family member because of a curse placed on her. He's the first person Taryn feels may actually understand her troubles. And as the story has gone on, he has continuously been trying to help her in her quest to discover a cure. Alongside Bo, he's always in her corner. We learn a lot about curses from their studies, and I have a possibly crackpot theory about Taryn's curse that I want to put out there. It might be insane and way off, but I want to discuss anyway. If you don't want to hear, skip to this point in the video and you'll be able to see the drawings at the end, don't worry. While reading through two mysterious journals of the man who built the house, Taryn learns that curses can be internal. She also learns that Isaac's family member's curse didn't spread, and actually, it seems like most don't. Hers might be unique in that way. Curses can also be given for different reasons, and those reasons affect what undoes the curse, like I said before. We see that when Taryn is punished by her mother for seeming to have revealed the truth about her arm, the curse appears to spread, as it has done before. However, after she returns from some time away after this punishment, her mother apologizes to her and almost seems desperate to make it up to her. Taryn then spends the day with her friends and sister and seems to be feeling more accepted than she ever has in her life, which overwhelms her. And when she begins to cry, more than just tears stream down her face. She seems to get a nosebleed, but instead of blood, we see a substance that looks just like her curse. Taryn interprets this as a bad thing, a sign that her curse is getting worse, and a reminder that her time may be running out. But I think it's the opposite. I think this is how she finds her cure. I think her curse is tied to feelings of love and acceptance. But why would it start in her fingertips? And who would give that kind of curse to a young child? Well, I think it's possible that nobody did. My theory is that Taryn wasn't the one that was cursed. Her mother was. Lots of readers have pointed out, and you may have even noticed from this video alone, that Taryn is the only one in her family to have dark brown hair. Everyone else is blonde as fuck. And in universe, people often point out the differences between her and her sister, both appearance-wise and in their personalities. It seems Taryn just doesn't really fit in with her family, and this has brought speculation that she could have been born from an affair. I definitely don't think she was adopted. She has that same green eye color that her mother and sister have. And maybe it's different in universe, but I don't think green eyes are a very common trait. I say as someone with green eyes. So her mother is her mother, but her father could be someone else, someone we've maybe even never met. I think this affair, if it happened, was how Mrs. Vogel ended up cursed. What if her lover was angry that she wouldn't leave her family to be with him, and so cursed her in a way that would never let her family grow? I don't think sorcerers specifically pick the body part they curse, but rather they give the curse a function, and whatever is connected to that function is what becomes blackened. So say this man wanted to ensure that she could never add to her family, never bear another child. That curse would likely be internal. A blackened uterus, perhaps. He just gave her endometriosis. Anyway, okay. But what if, when the curse was placed, Mrs. Vogel was already pregnant with this man's child? What if instead of the curse staying within her, it also transferred to her daughter? My thinking is, before the curse began to show, Taryn's mother was affectionate and loving towards her. Maybe she was her miracle baby. Was. Then when the curse began to show, it was a constant reminder of the affair and the betrayal, and that's why she began to be so cold and distant towards her. Out of guilt for her actions, shame for the consequences, even fear of the secret coming to light. I want to think her disdain towards Taryn must be more than resenting how the public views her. And remember how freaked out and sweaty their dad was? How they suddenly packed up and rushed out of town? Well, after they left, we see a mysterious cloaked figure come to town, covered in scars that seem to be a similar design to the markings of a curse. He does specifically target the boy who bullied Taryn, and it's right after she told Mr. Sprout about him, so I can see why people think Sprout sent him. Perhaps he even works for Mr. Sable, who's clearly interested in curses. But what if he was already in town, because he was looking for the Vogels? Maybe this man, who seems to know how to impart a curse, who has brown hair, is Terran's real father. I don't know, I could be totally off base. Maybe Terran just climbed on something somebody didn't want her to, and so they cursed her arm. She does really like to climb, we see that multiple times. I'm just trying to connect together pieces of information that I think are important, and I feel like Terran's mother knows more about the curse than she lets on. But I've also had a lot of theories about this webtoon already proven wrong, and most of them involve this guy. This is Dr. S. Beak. He's the on-site physician at Sable House and is like catnip to the young women staying there, which he hates. Marin is instantly taken by his looks. Tall and strong with stark white hair and jet black eyes. His unique appearance and stoic demeanor gives him a charm that she finds irresistible. And we soon see that she is not alone. He has a whole fan club, honestly. But Beak doesn't want any of the attention they give him. He just wants to do his job and live in peace. It seems like the only person he actually considers a friend is Bo. Most of the time he can't stand guests, and he especially doesn't like Isaac. He and Terran get off to a terrible start, with him finding her after she snuck into the staff halls that I was talking about before. Still, it seems like the way she first reciprocates his dislike of her was a breath of fresh air for him. After several encounters, the wall between them starts to crack, and they accidentally become sort of close, even if they still sometimes act like they don't like each other. He even bakes delicious bread, Terran's favorite. Like everyone at Sable House, Beak has a heavy backstory, which I won't be spoiling for you because it was just revealed like a day ago at the time of recording, and oh, it's so good. Wasn't anywhere close to my theories though. I was way off. It's clear Beak has information Terran needs. Makes sense, right? He's a doctor. But what she really wants to know about is the legend that haunts the woods outside Sable House's grounds. Listen, this webtoon is so good. I'm so glad that I found it, and I eat every episode up every single time. The art is gorgeous, the people feel real and complex, the setting is so cool, and the mystery is so interesting and engaging. I haven't had this many theories about a story since Steven Universe was still airing. The creator, who goes by Little Melon on Webtoon, has made an announcement that the comic will be on hiatus for the month of May 2024, so that she can focus on her wedding, which, congrats by the way, that's lovely. But I think that makes this the perfect time to spread the word about this amazing story. I really hope you all give it a read, and then by the time you catch up, you'll be so excited for the next episode in June. I love this webtoon, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. And if you've read it too, let me know your theories in the comments. I really want to see. Okay, that's all I have for today, so bye!